Hello everyone, myself Dr.D.R. Assistant Professor, Department of Botany, Sharda Mahavidyalaya, Parvani. Today we will see the plant movements. In this topic, we will study at first introduction, then classification of movements, then paratonic movements, and at the last Nastic movements. Now, at first, we will see introduction about the plant movements. We know that the animals move from one place to another place easily, means they show noticeable movements. But in opposite to this, the plants can't move from one place to another place because they are fixed into the soil through the roots. Means they can't show noticeable movements. Actually, the animals show noticeable movements because they move very quickly. But the plants can't show noticeable movements because they move very slowly. In the plants, the movements occur in the form of elongation, curvature, twisting, etc. And in the plants, these movements occur or takes place due to the external or internal factors. Hence, the plant movements can be defined as when any plant part or whole plant body slightly curved or bent due to the external and internal factors is called as plant movement. Actually, in the plants, not only in the plants but any type of organism, the movements occur due to the sensitivity or irritability of the protoplasm. Likewise, in the plants also, the movements occur due to the sensitivity or irritability of the protoplasm. Here we have seen introduction about the plant movements. Now we will see the next point, classification of plant movements. In the plants, so many different types of movements are seen. All the plant movements are mainly classified into two groups, that is movements of locomotion and movements of curvature. Now at first we will see the movements of locomotion. When a cell, cytoplasm or whole plant body move from one place to another place is called as movements of locomotion. This type of movements are seen in some aquatic plants, that is algae. For example, Chlamydomonas, volvox, Heliothrics, flagellated bacteria, green flagellated algae, spores, gametes, etc. Now we will see another type of the movements, movements of curvature. When a plant part or whole body slightly curved or bent is called as movements of curvature. This type of movements are seen in all the terrestrial plants. These movements are again classified into two groups, mechanical movements and vital movements. Now we'll see the mechanical movements. The plant movements which occur in response to hygroscopicity and mechanical intentions are called as mechanical movements. The mechanical movements are also called as physical movements. This type of movements are seen in dead parts of the plants. For example, during the dehiscence of fruits and pods, then during the dispersal of seeds and spores, and during the germination of seeds. Then the next type of the movements, vital movements. When the plant part or whole body curved naturally are called as vital movements. In other words, it can be also defined as the plant movements which occur naturally are called as vital movements. The vital movements occur in response to external and internal factors. Hence, these movements are again two types, that is spontaneous movements and induced movements. Now we will see the spontaneous movements. The planned movements which occur in response to internal factors or internal changes are called as spontaneous movements. The spontaneous movements are also called as autonomic movements. Then the another type of the vital movements, induced movements. The planned movements which occur due to the external factors are called as induced movements. The induced movements are also called as either tactic or paratonic movements. These movements occur in response to external factors like light, temperature, water, chemical, touch, etc. But these movements occur in two directions, that is The induced movements occur in only one direction as well as in other directions. Means the induced movements occurs or takes place positively towards the stimulus and negatively away from the stimulus. Hence, on the basis of the stimuli, the induced movements are again two types, that is, tropic movements and nastic movements. Now, we will see at first tropic movements in detail. Which movements are called as tropic movements? The planned movements which occur in response to the external unidirectional stimulus are called as tropic movements. In other words, the paratonic movements which occur in response to the external unidirectional stimulus are called as tropic movements. Here, in this type of planned movements, the stimulus acts on the protoplasm in only one direction. Hence, these movements occur in only one direction. These movements occur in response to the external unidirectional stimulus like light, water, gravity, chemical, touch, temperature, etc. Hence, on the basis of the stimuli, these movements are of different types. That is, phototropic movements, hydrotropic movements, geotropic movements, chemotropic movements, thermotropic movements, aerotropic movements, etc. Now we will see each one in detail. At first, the phototropic movements or the phenomenon phototropism. Which movements are called as phototropic movements? The planned movements which occur towards the light are called as phototropic movements. In other words, the tropic movements which occur due to the light stimulus are called as phototropic movements, and the phenomenon is called as phototropism. This phenomenon was first of all studied by Charles Darwin in the year 1880. These movements are usually seen in the tips of young stems or at the tips of young plants. Hence, they are called as positively phototropic, whereas the roots and rhizoids always grow away from the light, hence they are called as negatively phototropic. Now, we'll see the next phenomenon, hydrotropism. Which movements are called as hydrotropic movements? The planned movements which occur towards the moisture or water stimulus are called as hydrotropic movements. In other words, the tropic movements which occur in response to the moisture or water stimulus are called as hydrotropic movements, and the phenomenon is called as hydrotropism. This phenomenon was first of all demonstrated by Johnson in the year 1829. We know that the roots and rhizoids always grow towards the moisture or water, hence they are called as positively hydrotrophic, whereas the stem and branches always grow against to the water or moisture, hence they are called as negatively hydrotrophic. Now we'll see the next phenomenon, geotropism. Which movements are called as geotropic movements? The planned movements which occur towards the gravity or gravitational force are called as geotropic movements. In other words, the tropic movements which occur in response to the gravity or gravitational force stimulus are called as geotropic movements, and the phenomenon is called as geotropism. This phenomenon was first of all demonstrated by Dr.D.R in the year 1703, and the term geotropism was first of all coined by Frank in the year 1868. We know that the roots and rhizoids always grow towards the gravity or gravitational force, hence they are called as positively geotropy, whereas the stem and branches always grow away from the gravity or gravitational force, hence they are called as negatively geotropy. Now we see the next phenomenon, chemotropism. Which movements are called as chemotropic movements? The planned movements which occur towards the some chemicals or towards the some chemical substances are called as chemotropic movements. In other words, the tropic movements which occur in response to some chemical substances are called as chemotropic movements, and the phenomenon is called as chemotropism. This phenomenon was first of all demonstrated by Pfeiffer in the year 1884. These movements are usually seen in or commonly seen in the fungal hyphae and pollen tube, or the fungal hyphae and the pollen tube are the best examples of chemotropic movements. In case of fungal hyphae, what is seen? The fungal hyphae are more in number where the nutrients are more available in the agar medium. Whereas another example is pollen tube. We know that during the fertilization, the pollen grains reach at the stigma Then they germinate to produce pollen tube, and the pollen tube always grow towards the ovary through the style due to the secretion of some chemical substances. Now we will see the next phenomenon, thermotropism. The plant movements which occur due to the touch or contact are called as thermotropic movements. In other words, the tropic movements which occur in response to the touch or contact stimulus are called as thermotropic movements, and the phenomenon is called as thermotropism. These movements are commonly seen in the climbers or twiners by the dendrites. Now we'll see the next phenomenon, thermotropism. Which movements are called as thermotropic movements? The plant movements which occur toward the temperature are called as thermotropic movements. In other words, the tropic movements which occur due to the temperature stimulus are called as thermotropic movements, and the phenomenon is called as thermotropism. These movements are seen in some plants. The plants grow well in the presence of high temperature, whereas they do not grow well in low temperature. Then the next phenomenon, aerotropism. Which movements are called as aerotropic movements? The plant movements which occur towards the air, means towards the concentration of oxygen, are called as aerotropic movements. In other words, the tropic movements which occur in response to the air, means in more concentration of oxygen, are called as aerotropic movements, and the phenomenon is called as aerotropic. The last two, means the thermotropic and aerotropic movements, are not very important because these movements are not commonly seen in the plants. Here we have completed the tropic movements. Now we will see the next step of the plant movements, nastic movements. Which movements are called as nastic movements? The plant movements which occur in response to the external diffused stimulus are called as nastic movements. In these plant movements, the stimulus stimulate at one place, but the same stimulus spread or widely spread in all the parts or in whole plant body. Hence, the movements are seen in all the parts or in all the direction, but not in only one direction. These movements are seen in bifacial structures, means those who have two surfaces. For example, leaves, sepals, petals, etc. These movements occur in response to the external stimuli like light, temperature, touch, etc. On the basis of these stimuli, these movements are of different types. That is, nyctinastic movements, seismolastic movements, thermonastic movements, etc. Now we will see each one in detail. At first, nyctinastic movements. Which movements are called as nyctinastic movements? The nastic movements which occur in response to the light and temperature stimuli are called as nyctinastic movements. The nyctinastic movements are also called as either nyctinasty or sleeping movements. On the basis of the two stimuli, these movements are again two types, that is photonasty and thermonasty. At first, we will see the photonastic movements. The nastic movements which occur in response to the light stimulus are called as photonastic movements. These movements are seen in the plants like oxalis and cassia. In these plants, the leaves and flowers remains open during the day or light, and they get closed in the dark or in the night. Now we'll see the next step of the nastic movements, thermonastic movements. Which movements are called as thermonastic movements? The plant movements which occur in response to the temperature stimulus are called as thermonastic movements. In other words, the nastic movements which occur in response to the temperature stimulus are called as thermonastic movements. These movements are seen in the plants like crocus and tulip. In this plant, the flowers remains open at high temperature and they get closed at low temperature. Now we will see another type of nastic movements, seismolastic movements. Which movements are called as seismolastic movements? The nastic movements which occur in response to touch or shock stimulus are called as seismolastic movements. These movements are commonly seen in Mimosa pudica plant, or Mimosa pudica is the best example for the seismolastic movement. How the movements seen in this plant? When we will touch to any one leaflet, then the same stimulus or the same message move towards all the remaining leaflets. Then finally all the leaflet gets closed, and this whole process takes place within few seconds. Now we'll see the last type of the nastic movements, thermonastic movements. Which movements are called as thermonastic movements? The Nastic movements which occur in response to the touch stimulus of the insects are called as thigmonastic movements. The thigmonastic movements are also called as haplomastic movements. These movements are usually seen in some insectivorous or carnivorous plants. For example, Drosera, Dionia, etc. The Drosera is commonly called as sanguiplans and the Dionia is commonly called as Venus flytrap. In case of Drosera, when any one insect either reach or sit on the leaf, then all the tentacles move inward, means toward the insects, to capture or to trap to the insects. Then, with the help of digestive enzymes, they digest to the insect. And after the digestion, all the tentacles again move back or they regain their original position to trap to the next insects. Thank you.